Double honors to the apostles and elders of the great ones from that rule and teach well. Peace and salutation to the brothers on the four corners of this earth, pushing this world in truth. All chance and sincerity, and Manat is like out a short video. Shalom. So a couple days ago, just yesterday or the day before sometime, I forget, I was talking in the group chat and I posted this now, but just give him a spirit that, you know what I mean? Make a video of it, you know what I mean? Alright? So we're talking about pilgrimage, right? But I was talking about how, you know what I mean? It just had the conversation was you really had to suffer for this truth now, but you know what I mean? The weight of what we had to get is, you know what I mean? It worth it in the end. Or will be worth it in the end. Alright? So it says a pilgrimage is a deliberate, often long journey undertaken to a sacred or holy place for religious or spiritual reasons, rooted in the Latin word peregrinus, meaning being away from home. The act combines physical travel with inner transformation and devotion. Alright? So the act combines physical travel with inner transformation and devotion. Now we here on the physical plane, you know what I mean, in the physical realm, not the spiritual realm. You know what I mean? Act of devotion would be considered Romans 12 and 1. Alright? I'm gonna get that because I already have some things pull up here, right? I'll get back to that. I'm gonna get Romans 12 and 1. It says, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of power, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto power, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed, transformation, right, to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of power. So, okay, yeah. Right, so that we might prove or be an example, in other words, what is the perfect and acceptable will of the Lord. Alright, let me jump back to the description. Alright, the renewing of your mind, inner transformation and devotion. A deliberate, often long journey here, because we don't know how long we life will be. You know what I mean? The elders is, you know what I mean? The elders is elder man. The elder apostles, you know? I'm not really sure, but they're in like the 50s, 60s, somewhere there, I think. You know what I mean? They are grey-haired men, wise men. Their journey was long, you know? Even Elder Apostle Taha once said in a video, he said, hey, sometimes you don't feel like going on to the works. Next thing you know, you putting the boots on, you still not feeling like doing the works. Going out and doing on the works on the highways. Next thing you know, you don't know, they stand up, you still don't feel like, hey, and then when the camera come on, you open up and hey, let the spirit, you know what I mean? Let the spirit lead. Deliberate. You know what I mean? As much as we don't want to go, we're tired or you rather be doing something, nah, we deliberately get up and do the works. Deliberately. Put everything aside to do that. You know, deliberately. Alright? I'm gonna go back into what I was going. Alright, so pilgrim, right? 3 times. Pilgrims, lucky. And I will start in 2 Corinthians 16 and 14. Right? It says, O my people, hear my word, make you ready to thy battle, and in those evils be even as pilgrims upon the earth. In a transformed, you know what I mean, the inward man being transformed. You know what I mean, devout. To be as pilgrims on the earth. It's a long journey. So what? To that spiritual plane. And the Lord, you know what I mean, put we back in the spiritual power and bring righteousness on earth. Some will see it in the flesh, and some will, you know what I mean, you'll see them on the other side in the kingdom, because they're already on the spiritual plane. And in that spiritual realm, they complete their pilgrimage, in other words. right? You ones who still here, we still on we journey. You know, that is how it is. All right, go to First Peter 2:11. It says, "Dearly beloved, I beseech you, as strangers and pilgrims, abstain from fleshly lusts which war against the soul." All right, I beg you, as strangers and pilgrims. Meaning what? We wasn't born over there. We wasn't born in the land. You know what I mean? So to people born in the land, we would be considered what? Strangers. However, we are of the bloodline. We just born outside the borders. So we would be considered strangers. Alright? It says what? And pilgrims, because it could be a long journey. Come Hebrews 12:13 and 14, I believe. Yeah? To that city that, you know what I mean? Because we have no city here, but we seek the one to come. We seek one to come. Alright? Roughly paraphrasing. It could be a long journey to that city. We waiting, we seeing the signs of the coming of the city. But hey, we still on that journey toward it. Still getting it right or better or more accurate every day as we go. You know? Where's the last one? It was 11 and 13. It says, these all, let me read up for context. It says, through faith also, Sarah herself received strength and to conceive seed and was delivered of a child when she was past the age because she judged him faithful who had promised. You know what I mean? Who she talking about? Who they talking about here? The Lord. Alright, Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Therefore sprang there even from of one, and him as good as dead, so many as the stars of the sky in multitude, and as the sand which is by the seashore innumerable. We were talking about it in Ishana of Yasharala. Verse 13. These all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off. We're talking about the ones past, the prophets and judges, so on and so forth, that passed. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, you know what I mean? That is what they're talking about here. For they that say, Salakia. It said, these all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. Right? For example, guys like us now. Where we seeing it coming off far off. You know what I mean? The ones that passed in faith. You know what I mean? Because they ain't here today to see, you know what I mean, the bringing in of them to everybody, but years ago they was on the highways and byways preaching, it was warning, putting out that warning against, so they was blowing the trumpet in Zion. Right? And that is about having faith. That is having faith. I wanna just digress here for a moment. I'll read up in Job. I believe it says, do the worms consume my flesh, yet I will see my maker. Mine eyes shall see my maker. That's what it's all. Here with man. Okay, so it's Job 19 from 26. Right, it says, and though after my skin worms destroy this body, yet in my flesh shall I see power. Right? say, and though after my skin wounds destroy this body, yet in my flesh shall I see power. Yeah, yet in the flesh you go see power. That is what them that died in faith. You know what I mean? They passed on, but what in faith? They did the things because why? They knew these words were faithful and true. You know what I mean? They did that was required of that which was required of them. Yeah? They do what they were supposed to do. As I either say, you know what I mean? They waved the banner. You know, they waved the banner. They didn't fall, sir. You know what I mean? And that is just part of the pilgrimage. This long journey that we had to be devout, man. You know, you had to be devout. You know? Our life is really life. Our life at least, is a pilgrimage. From one point from birth up until we that pass on until you shall come back as a pilgrimage. You know? We this is our life is a long journey. Right? And the purpose of that journey is basically Romans 12 and 1. You know what I mean? Romans 12 and 1 and Sirach. Not Sirach, so like Ecclesiastes 12. I want to remember what it is. Bear with me one moment. I'm going to bring it down and we'll close off, right? And the purpose of this journey, Romans 12:1. Also, right, what was it? Ecclesiastes 12. I think it's the last verse. Ecclesiastes 12 and 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear power and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. That is the duty on this pilgrimage. Alright? So I hope it was edifying. Hope it's back food for thought among the Akim who watching and listening. Through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rukakudash. Until next time, Shalom.